Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Jay, and Jay, there's a lot to talk about. We need to talk about this ongoing Liverpool implosion that's going on. I also want to talk a little bit about Man United as well and the position we find ourselves in after that win against Wolves and the general discourse around Manchester United this season.
Yep.
Just how back and forth it is all the time, and obviously the role, I guess, that we play in that to a certain extent. I want to talk about that. I think we should start with the Liverpool stuff though, because it has been fantastic watching all this happen. Because the one thing you don't need when you're already going through a rough run of form, when your manager, who has won a league title but is only 18 months into his job, so isn't necessarily, he's very much in, but he's not Jurgen Klopp safe, is he? He's someone that his reputation is still being built at the club. The last thing you need is for your best player, and maybe sort of in conversation for your greatest player of all time, certainly in the Premier League era, coming out and saying that he is being thrown under the bus, attacked, basically being made a scapegoat for all the problems at Liverpool. Then one of your greatest legends, I believe the Premier League #1 appearance maker for Liverpool, Jamie Carragher,
makes sense,
coming out and then calling him and what he did a disgrace. It is fantastic to watch from the outside, isn't it? What do you make of where they're up to with all that? He's obviously been dropped now from the Liverpool team by slot for the Champions League game, which will have happened by the time this goes out. He's been called out by, like I said, Jamie Carragher. The general public opinion seems to be Salah's got this wrong. I know obviously people will defend him, but mostly what I'm seeing at least is this is an absolute F-up all round. It's so good to watch, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's just what you want to see. Yep. Because from a United point of view, just looking at it and laughing at the Scousers is always, it's a good hobby to have. And there's a lot to laugh about because they had the title win, and my biggest worry as a United fan was they were going to build on it and they were going to retain the title, or this could be a period of dominance for them. Now, they had Van Dijk, obviously, who's getting on a bit, and Salah, but they spent big in the summer. You think if these signings work out and if Slot's the guy that the Scousers hope he is, maybe this is a sort of, a little bit of a period of for them where they can be there or thereabouts each season, because they kind of did it under Klopp, didn't they? Only won one, but they were there or thereabouts a few seasons. Obviously got to 3 Champions League finals under Klopp and won one of them, so you think, crikey, is this gonna, could this happening again? And it doesn't look like it at all. It just massively imploded. And the last thing Liverpool want, which is kind of the first thing we'd want, is Salah and the manager falling out, because regardless of what Jamie Carragher says, Mo Salah, as much as anyone, is responsible for their success in the Premier League era.
100%. Probably the single most of any one 100%. Person. And Van Dijk's just behind
close,
him,
but
Salah's the one.
I think like Van Dijk is a very, very good defender. I've always said he's not in the sort of the greatest ever bracket. It amazes me that he's considered that, but he's a very good defender. But I think it would have been easier to replace him than Salah. I think you could have got a defender who was almost as good as Salah, as Van Dijk, and sort of did 90% of what he does. I don't think you could have got anyone like Mo Salah to get the numbers and score the goals that he got. Certainly not for the money they spent as well. Let's not forget.
I think as a purely right winger, I think he's the best that there's ever been in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because you talk about someone like Dave Beckham's a different type of player.
He's not a winger.
No, he's not.
Beckham, and also Ronaldo and all that played on the left.
It's different than what Mo Salah is. So you've got to give him his flowers. He's the best Liverpool player I've ever seen, and it's hilarious. I think two things can be true. I say that a lot, and it's because it's kind of accurate. Salah shouldn't have done what he did. That interview was just insane. Straight after a deflating result, to go on a mixed zone and just start spouting stuff the way he did about being thrown under the bus, about he shouldn't have to earn his place. He's already earned his place. The manager's thrown him under the bus. I don't have a relationship with the manager. All the stuff he said, it's not what you should be doing as a professional footballer. Certainly not a senior player in that team. However, the reaction by Jamie Carragher, and one or two others as well, it's not just Carragher, but he's obviously the most prominent one, I thought was a bit harsh in OTT.
Did you?
I did.
What do you think was harsh about it?
Some of the things he said about Salah, in terms of he was just, regardless, he was only known as a failure at Chelsea. I don't think that's true. I think he'd gone to Italy and done very well. I think a lot of people knew who Mo Salah was and what he was about. There's a reason Liverpool were after him, and I've seen certain Liverpool journalists actually pushing back and saying, we wanted him before he went to Chelsea. Like, the club were looking at Mo Salah for a long time. Let's not forget, Klopp didn't even want him. He wanted Julian Brandt. It was a club that said, no, we've been looking at Salah. He's the guy. I think it was Rodgers who initially said no to him. And Klopp said, yeah, okay, a few years later. So I think that was a bit harsh. The AFCON thing, I don't think you can have it both ways. Jamie Carragher in the past has been quite dismissive of AFCON. Almost doesn't rate it as a tournament. And now he's using the fact that Mo Salah hasn't won AFCON as a stick to beat him with. That doesn't make any sense to me. If you don't rate AFCON, fair enough. But then you can't say, well, I don't rate it, but he's not won it. That seems a little bit contradictory. So I just felt it was a little bit OTT in some of his criticisms of the person and the player. You can criticise his actions and say what he's done is a disgrace. I get that, and I'd expect that from a Liverpool legend and someone who's obviously very close to the club and the fans. However, some of the sort of comments he was making about Salah, I thought were a bit much, personally. And I'm not got a dog in a fight. I couldn't care less. Let them all fight each other. It's who gives a toss. But I thought, really?
Have we ever had this? Because I know we've obviously had meltdowns and league positions, and Ronaldo going to Piers Morgan was bad. But in terms of then this sort of back and forth between two Liverpool legends, like an actual, because Salah called out Carragher specifically, didn't he? And said, he'll be talking about this now and giving me stick or whatever. And then obviously he did.
Yeah.
Have we ever had that where it's like a sort of beef between two legends who are still playing, or one of them is?
I don't know if you probably can't call Paul Pogba a legend, let's be real. Even if you think he's a very good player.
Oh, him and Roy Keane?
But it was Scholes, I think.
Okay.
There was him and Scholes, and it was more Raiola who led the way with that, and I think Pogba sort of maybe amplified it a little bit on socials or whatever, or those cryptic social posts, and it was more Raiola sort of pushing back on Paul Scholes' criticism of Pogba rather than Pogba coming out and overtly slandering or slagging off, I should say, Paul Scholes. That's the closest I can remember to there being something similar, where you've got a current prominent member, arguably your most talented member of your team, having a bit of a beef with a club legend. That's kind of what happened with Scholes and Pogba. Yeah. But it wasn't to this scale. It certainly wasn't where Pogba was giving interviews saying this, that and the other about him. And I don't think Scholes was as scathing towards Pogba as we've seen from Carragher on Mo Salah.
It's mental as well because, obviously, these are great players, and Salah in particular is a fantastic player. But it's mad that, I get you feel a bit disrespected, but it's 3 games he's been on the bench.
Yeah.
And people's egos are so sort of fragile, and it's all people care so much about their legacy, and I guess that's all humans want generally, is to be remembered for something and to have a bit of a kind of claim to fame and all that. And Salah's clearly got all of that. But it's it takes so little in the grand scheme of the 400 games or whatever he's played for Liverpool to get you to a point where you're willing to not ruin your reputation by any means, but certainly kick a dint into it.
Yeah.
This is if he leaves in January, which is, I would say, probably unlikely, but very much more possible now than it was at the start of the season.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If he leaves in January, what a pitiful way for that all to end for them. Hilarious for us. Yeah. But you think and it's just ego. That's all. I can't bear to be on the bench for 3 games. And this relationship with the manager, because let's be honest, he did it with Klopp to a certain extent.
Oh, they had a fallout on the touchline. We saw it.
Touchline, and you think come on, mate. Part of being the one of the greatest and the greats of your club is representing Liverpool as a person as well as a player. As a player, he's done it phenomenally. Yeah. But as a person, you kind of need to be, that's one of the reasons Steven Gerrard is so loved by Liverpool fans, is because I know he tried to leave, but in terms of the public appearance and the footballing public appearance of Steven Gerrard, he is the physical manifestation of Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. Gary Neville is the physical manifestation of Manchester United Football Club. Roy Keane the same. Whereas with Salah, you think it's almost him versus the club.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible thing if you're looking at him as being one of your best ever players. Yeah. And I think, not to the same degree, there was never anything like this, but I think because of all the active rumours there were with Rooney when he was at United, I think there was a little bit of that with some United fans to Rooney, where it was a little bit of are you 100% in here?
Yeah.
And people at times maybe question that. But I think overall he proved that he was, and stayed many years after all of that stuff in 2010 and whatever. But I do think that you don't want your legends looking at him thinking, were they ever that bothered?
Well, look at Rooney. It's a good point, because Rooney got dropped for the last 16 game against Real Madrid for Danny Welbeck.
Yeah.
I love Danny Welbeck, but that's a big call from Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
And Rooney didn't kick off. He didn't give an interview.
Not publicly, no.
I mean, he was obviously fuming.
Yeah.
But he knuckled down, if you can call it that, got himself back into the team and played for United for another, 4 years, whatever it was, 5 years. And obviously did very well and ended up becoming our record goal scorer. We've seen other players at United where they've been dropped or whatever. Seen it with City with Foden. Foden's a big player for City. He got dropped for quite a few games. I know it's probably not quite the same levels in terms of what Foden's done for City, in terms of what Salah's done for Liverpool, but it's not a million miles away.
No.
And I think they've sort of took it on the chin, and you've just got to get yourself back in the team. And Salah's not handling it in the right way, but it's now funny because you're getting all this revisionism. I saw Jason McAteer, who's taking time off from driving down one-way streets the wrong way in Manchester, which is what I saw him doing the other week. Yeah, and see, the crossing. I think I spoke about this on the brew. The crossing near the office.
Yeah.
So I'm going to the zebra crossing right next to the classic football shirts. So I'm like looking. I've got across, and I noticed the car going the wrong way. So I know, and it stops at the crossing.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then another car's coming away, and the other car's going mad. Like, what are you doing? And as I walked, I turned to say to him, I said, like, bro, this is a one-way street. You're going the wrong way. Because I'm not like, I'm gonna have a go at him. I'm not the traffic warden. Yeah, and as I turned, it was Jason McAteer. And he was just like, I just started laughing at Jason McAteer. Yeah. And he just started laughing, and then just did a Yui and got off. But yeah.
So when he's not doing that, what's he saying?
He said that, again, it's just the OTT reaction. It's like, you can criticise Mo Salah without pretending he wasn't amazing, hasn't been amazing for Liverpool. Yeah. And he was sort of saying, he's not single-handedly carried Liverpool. Gerrard did that. Salah hasn't done it. Then someone, the commentator, whoever who was interviewing him, said, do you not think he's sort of responsible for those 2 Premier League titles? And he said, well, they wouldn't have won the title without Jordan Henderson. I just think it's a silly comment. So it's just getting all a bit.
Jordan Henderson is one of the most replaceable captains in the Premier League era.
Also, was he even there for the second Premier League?
No, for the second one he wasn't.
There's a lot about
for the first one, he's good. Yeah. But when you look at like the captains down the years, going back, Company. Before that, you'd have like. Rio and Vidic, sorry, at United. Before
Rio did it for
Lampard
a season, yeah. Keane. It's a silly argument to make. It is, and this is why it's funny. And this is the thing with Liverpool. A lot of the time, this is what pains me to say. It makes them a pretty big, strong club. Yeah. Is the way that they will circle the wagons and stick together. It's sort of. What they're about, aren't they? And sometimes that can spill over into nonsense, like we saw with Luis Suarez and wearing t-shirts and all that drivel. Other times it can be something that you commend and you stick. You can sort of give them the respect for it, in the way they fought the Tory government over what happened at Hillsborough and stuff like that. You go, that's commendable and they deserve credit for that. But what we're seeing here now is just an implosion because of people just fighting the Liverpool corner so much. It's like, we ain't having this. Even when it's against someone who is a legend for that club.
Fantastic.
And it's just crazy to see. It's so insane because it's kind of out of the blue, innit, really? Yeah. Going into this season, you're defending champions, you've made a load of signings, you think, this is going to be a good season for them. And by Christmas, the best ever player, arguably the best ever player, looks like he's ready to leave. The manager's under pressure either way, and now he's under more pressure because he's had a fallout. Club legends are bending over backwards to try and downplay how big a legend Mo Salah has been, and it's all getting played out in the media. It's just fantastic to watch.
Absolutely fantastic.
It's just great telly, isn't it?
Speaking of great telly,
just on that quick
point
as well, that was great telly between Dave Jones and Jamie Carragher about it.
Oh yeah, I've never criticised him on the pitch.
He said his legs are gone last week.
Well, what I mean is that's well, okay. So yes, I did say that, but I'd say that about a horse if it was tired. So that doesn't count in a way.
The way Dave Jones said it as well was so.
Yeah. I've got a table at home that's legs have gone. That's not personal. That doesn't count.
That's a compliment. You're not down with the lingo.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, man, his legs have gone. Yeah. It's like a. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he's sick. Yeah.
So other than that, I've never really said that much. Let's talk about Man United then. Amorim, 15 games, 7 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, almost at the 50% win mark. Oh, actually, just shy, which isn't great. However, this is a Premier League season where I don't think anyone's going to be getting 95 points.
Not a chance.
I think you'll win the league with probably 10 to 12 short of that. I think 82, 83, 84 points will probably win you the league.
I think you might have a point
back
there, my
to the
friend.
kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of numbers, which I think is a good thing as a spectator. Obviously, we all in our heads quite like the idea of sort of unblemished excellence and putting a team in the greatest of all time category, like you might do with the 99 team, the 08 team, City's 100-point team. As much as it pains me to say it, we're probably not going to see an all-time great team this season, which maybe loses something. But I think in terms of watching games and not knowing what's going to happen, which is what sport is all about. That's what separates it from, a play or WWE or whatever. It's as good as it's been in recent memory this season. But what that means is you can finish fourth and you're probably not going to have a 60% win rate.
Yeah.
United have had 75 plus points a couple of times in the last few years and never looked like challenging. If we got 81 points this season, as we did under Jose Mourinho, we would 100% be in a title race going into May, let alone, was it basically the end of January?
Might even win it with that.
Exactly. So the current discourse around United is you win a game, it's all right. You lose a game, the manager needs to go. And obviously, these are, sometimes people say, everyone changes their mind and flip-flops back and forth. I think mostly people have a general idea of what they think and become emboldened after each result. Yeah. So if you win, the people that are more positive come out and start talking more. Yeah. If you lose, the people that are more negative seem to come out and start talking more. I don't mean negative and positive in your whole life. I just mean a bit more optimistic or pessimistic about the current situation. Where are you at with things at the minute? Because obviously beating Wolves isn't a huge anything, but a comfortable win aren't particularly easy to come by in the Premier League this season.
No. I still have my worries. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yep.
I still can't get my head around why we're so vulnerable defensively.
Yeah.
Like 22 goals I think we've conceded.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. We've had one clean sheet all season and we're now getting towards the middle of December. Like you're not going to get anywhere if you always concede goals.
No.
Like you're just not. And that's a problem that's not been fixed, and it needs fixing if we're going to move forward. I like Ruben Amorim as a person. He comes across well. I think he's had a couple of touchy press conferences which haven't been great, but on the whole he's quite charismatic, and I think there's a lot to like about him. But I'm still worried. I know this isn't a very sort of insightful opinion, but I just don't know how this is going to end. I just don't. If you said to me Ruben Amorim's going to get sacked in January, I could see that happening if results went away from him. And if you said to me Ruben Amorim's going to be okay and he's going to be successful, I could see that happening. I think that's less likely at this moment, if I'm being brutally honest, and from what I've seen. But I just feel that it's difficult to say. One thing I will say is he's got to start fixing up at home. We've had 2 terrible performances at Old Trafford, last 2 games. Bournemouth at Old Trafford next week. Turn up.
Yeah.
Turn up and get a win. You cannot have Everton, Bournemouth and West Ham at home and not win any of them. That's just not acceptable.
No, that is
so
ridiculous.
He needs to fix up and we need to win. And if we win that, you're going to be in that mix for the sort of the Champions League spots. The crowd are going to be happy. I know it's not all United fans are at Old Trafford, but the home crowd are going to be up for it. I think that that could be a massive step forward, because at the minute, it is still worrying, is the honest answer. What about you? Because you're usually on the more positive side. I think I'm a little bit more in the middle. You're more positive. Ronnie's got his reservations when we do the Paddock podcast, which I understand. Both of your points of views.
I do get it. I'm still where I was before. I think that there's areas of the team that aren't good enough.
Yeah.
I think when we get it right and when we have a bit of confidence and just runs off the ball, movement off the ball, I think we look really good. There was some brilliant football we played against Wolves, and admittedly, it's like you're playing on FIFA on amateur difficulty, so the gaps are bigger and they're not closing down as much, and they're playing a high line, but the line's wonky, and all the stuff that you don't want to.
You pointed that out, didn't you, on the watch along?
So they were quite easy to get through, but we're still trying those things. We're still, a few flicks around the corner, some really good balls in behind, running and working off the ball. I thought was good. There was just that weird spell, wasn't there, that there seems to be in every single game where we allow the opposition, or the opposition manifests some pressure, and we're conceding that spell every time.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Because Wolves, I think they're 2 shots on target all game.
Yeah.
So if they could have, without a goalkeeper, we would have won. And that's obviously a good thing overall. And I'm not blaming Lomans, by the way, for their goal. It was unsavable from the position it was taken from. But I just think I don't understand how these teams that consistently have so few shots on target against us. I spoke to Steve last week, and at that time it was 7 goals in 15 shots on target.
Yeah.
It's now 8 goals in 17 shots on target in the last 6 games.
Yeah,
that's just under a goal every 2 shots on target, which is almost double the average. So for whatever reason, teams are having very good sort of chances against us, per shot on target, which is that a problem with marking plays in the box where they're left open. I think Bellegarde yesterday was basically free. It was a difficult finish, but he had no one around him to put pressure on him. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is infuriating that United keep doing this. And as you said, if United could somehow, and this is obviously easier said than done, but somehow be a bit more defensively sound, because you look at some of the other teams in the league, you know, Sunderland have conceded 5 goals fewer than we have, Tottenham 4 goals fewer, Newcastle 3 goals fewer, Everton 5 goals fewer as well. If we could be in that ballpark, and they're not the best teams in the league, by the way, they're all below us in the league.
Yeah.
So if we could have a similar number of goals conceded as them, with the 26 that we've scored, which is the third most, all of a sudden we're probably third in the league.
Yeah.
We're probably ahead of Villa, or sort of certainly in that same ballpark as Villa, 29, 30, 31 points. And I do think personally it's easier to turn a team into a one that is better defensively and improve someone's defending than it is to create more goals out of nowhere.
I agree with that.
So I think the difficult job, or the more difficult job, is making more chances, scoring more goals, and we've done that.
Yeah.
Like I said, 26 goals this season, only City and Arsenal have scored more. That's a really good start. Now it's about bringing things down at the other end of the pitch, and if we can do that, then all of a sudden I think a lot of the questions go away, and then by the end of the season we'll be looking at, right, maybe we brought someone in January, 3 or 4 signings in the summer, and then it can be, right, Champions League, solidify that, and then start looking ahead for the season after that. But personally, I'm roughly okay with where we're at the minute.
Yeah.
A lot of the same reservations that you have, I've noticed the same things. I do think this is the same problems, but I'm less sort of terminally concerned about them than I think a lot of people are. I think they're fixable, and I think the manager seems like the sort of bloke that is trying to learn, trying to adapt, and is improving. And that, for me, is a good enough sign for him to keep his job, certainly for the rest of this season, no question.
Yeah, I think he'd have to have a disaster to lose his job before the end of the season.
Yeah, I
think it'd have to be pretty grim. He could lose it at the end of the season if we're outside European places, but I think he'll at least get to there. I know there's speculation, wasn't there, with seeing Barada and Ratcliffe and all them chatting, and people going, they're having a row, and no one knows what's going on. It seems that those characters are backing him. So, yeah, he just needs to get some wins. And we've got some games coming up. I know we say this all the time, that are winnable. Mm-hmm. But you've got Bournemouth. I know you've got Villa away, which is obviously a tough one. But I think we've got Leeds, have we? We've got Wolves again.
Wolves again at the 30th, yeah.
Yeah, like there's enough games where you look in, you go, okay, we can get some points on the board here. Even like Newcastle at home.
I was going to say, Newcastle and Bournemouth at home, those two are tricky but winnable.
Come on, man. Like, we should be beating it. We should be beating anyone at home, but certainly Newcastle and Bournemouth, they're not unbeatable. They're sort of mid-table teams at the minute. Yeah. So it's just like, we can't be looking at those games going, well, we'll get a win then. Well, why not? So, yeah, I think that Martinez being back again, you spoke about him quite well after the game. That could be a massive boost. That could help us in terms of trying to keep clean sheets as well, because he's just a very, very good defender. Yep. Him coming back into the side could help us massively. I like Lemons. He's a good keeper. So there's been improvements since the beginning of the season. I think it's just we're still not there yet, are we? We always seem to be one result away from meltdown. Yeah, like that meltdown could genuinely be next Monday night. If we lose at home at Old Trafford, if we get another 3-0 loss like we've had the last 2 times we played Bournemouth at Old Trafford, then there will be a meltdown, and probably rightly so. So we just need to get to this place where I thought we were done it in October, when we had that run, and then we just stopped winning, and then it's like again after the Everton game, everyone's fuming. So we just need to get a bit of a run together and just start looking forward instead of backwards all the time. I
mean, there's a couple of ways to look at it in there. I think it's 2 wins in the last 5-6 games, or it's 2 wins in the last 3. You know, we're entering another little spell.
That's what it does.
2 wins in a draw. It changes
that narrative. 3. We always talk about narratives on the channel because we see it.
Yeah.
Narratives form quite quickly at United, and if you can win on Monday and then it's back-to-back wins and it's
1 loss in 9 or whatever it is. I think, 10 maybe.
Yeah, I think it would be 1 loss in 10 if you win on Monday, and then all of a sudden people can start getting a little bit of comfort and a little bit more relaxed. Yeah. Because at the minute as well, it's just toxic, innit? Because it's like, you saw it last night after the Wolves game, saw it on the review, in the comments, people just divided.
Yeah, massively.
People, it's not like everyone's pro or anti Amorim, it's a mix. Some people just not having him, they've had enough, and I can understand it. Other people saying, look, let's just give him more time. There's enough here to see that, we're still in this mix for Champions League football. If we get Champions League, everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
I think the cup game as well against Brighton is going to be huge for him.
Yeah.
Because if you lose the opportunity, United fans or football fans in general, we always want the hope of a trophy.
Yeah.
We always want that. that was what kept us going on it. It was like, we can win a trophy and get Champions League football. Like, let's just sort of, focus on that and that'll keep us going. If we hadn't have had that, if we'd have lost to Leon, the mood around the club would have been horrible. Yeah. It would have been terrible. And if we get beat in the first opportunity, the first round of the Carabao to Grimsby, and the first game in the FA Cup at home to Brighton, who, whilst they're a decent side, they're not unbeatable, then you're going to have, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be difficult for Ruben Amorim as well, I think, because people aren't going to be too supportive.
Yeah, he's got to win that. Right, that's going to be all from us. Lovely to chat to you, Jay.
Always good to chat to you, my brother.
Addressing the state of things. And lovely merch and jumper that you're wearing there as well. One of many different designs and patterns over on our merch site, which is a link to that is in the description. Go and check it out. Yeah. Are we still getting Christmas orders in?
If you're in the UK and you do your order this week, it will arrive by Christmas.
Great.
If you're overseas, it's touch and go.
It's anyone's game.
Yeah, so I can't guarantee it.
But
so
if you want any chance, earlier the better.
Yeah, earlier the better. Literally, a day can make a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Jay, as always. We'll see you in a bit.